President Trump announced Tuesday that he plans to sign an executive order ending birthright citizenship for the children of illegal aliens. And true to form, the left immediately flipped out. Here's why you shouldn't.
Now, how ridiculous. We're the only country in the world where a person comes in, has a baby, and the baby is essentially a citizen of the United States for 85 years with all of those benefits. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And it has to end.
Some call them anchor babies. In legal circles, it's known as birthright citizenship, or the idea that just because you were born on U.S. soil, regardless of the legal status of your parents, you are automatically a U.S. citizen. Having a baby this way can help illegal alien parents avoid deportation or pave the way for their own legal status once their child reaches the age of 21. There are currently an estimated 4 million children living in the U.S. who are considered citizens but were born to illegal alien parents. In fact, it's common knowledge that many women from other countries regularly try to get across the southwest U.S. border before giving birth, just so their children will be citizens of the United States. A few have even given birth on the U.S. bank of the Rio Grande. Other women come here on legal visas with the same goal. It's called maternity tourism, and much of it comes from China and Russia. This idea is rooted in one interpretation of the 14th Amendment, which states in part that all persons born or naturalized in the United States are automatically citizens. When it was ratified in 1866, the intent was to overturn Dred Scott and assure citizenship for former slaves. Except that that's not all that the 14th Amendment says. Here is the entire first sentence. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. And see, it's that second part that gets a little bit tricky. And subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Illegal aliens, by definition of being in the country illegally, and by extension their children, are arguably not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States because the United States never said that they could be here. And the meaning of that phrase is not a given. In fact, the courts have already had to rule on its interpretation before. In 1898, the Supreme Court ruled that children born to permanent legal residents of the United States are, in fact, citizens. Why? Well, because they're subject to the jurisdiction of the U.S., and so are their legally present parents. But does that definition extend to children born to illegal aliens who shouldn't be here in the first place? Well, that's the age-old debate. And it's why an executive order rescinding birthright citizenship won't go anywhere without a Supreme Court ruling, which may be exactly what the Trump administration is aiming for.
Some legal scholars believe you can get rid of birthright citizenship without changing the Constitution.
With an executive order.
Exactly.
Right.
Have you thought about that?
Yes.
Tell me more.
It was always told to me that you needed a constitutional amendment. Guess
14th
what?
Amendment.
You don't.
You don't.
Number one, you don't need that. Number two,
I mean, that's in dispute.
You could definitely
That's very much in dispute.
Well, you can definitely do it with an act of Congress.
Issuing an executive order ending the anchor baby practice would instantly and unquestionably launch a long legal battle, forcing the courts to determine once and for all whether birthright citizenship is guaranteed under the 14th Amendment or not. If it is, then it would take a constitutional amendment to change it. If it's not, well, then that means that we've been handing out citizenship to a whole lot of people who had no legal right to it, which launches a whole other debate. The bottom line is this: no one, regardless of where you stand on this issue, should be freaking out right now. No one is losing their citizenship tomorrow. No one's putting babies in potato cannons and shooting them back to Tijuana. In fact, if you truly believe that birthright citizenship for illegal aliens' children is guaranteed in the 14th Amendment, you should be happy that an executive order like this could force the issue to SCOTUS so we can get a ruling on it once and for all, as it is a long-standing question worth answering. So the next time some progressive claims on Twitter that Trump is about to strip millions of people of their citizenship while running the U.S. Constitution through a shredder, politely suggest that they Google what the heck they're talking about before spouting off a bunch of fear-mongering nonsense. And maybe, while they're at it, that they read the second half of the 14th Amendment.
Last week, Facebook censored hundreds of independent news outlets, completely deleting their pages, many with hundreds of thousands, some with millions of followers, because they were posting articles that were hosted on their websites, which had advertisements on them. Of course, the reason for this is to try to shift influence back to the mainstream media, which has been steadily losing it for years. And with the midterm just 3 weeks away, Facebook is now saying that they're going to be deleting posts and maybe entire pages for anyone who posts misinformation about voting. By the way, one of the hundreds of independent news outlets that Facebook shut down last week was owned and operated by this man, Brian Kolfage. If you'll take a close look, you'll notice that he's missing both of his legs and his right arm because he's a disabled veteran who was seriously injured in Iraq. After a long recovery and retiring from the military and giving 3 limbs to this country, he started the Facebook page Right Wing News, which grew to over 3 million followers, but was shut down by Facebook last week. He spent over $300,000 on ads on Facebook promoting his page and his other page for his company, the Military Grade Coffee Company, which was also shut down. If I have to roll into their headquarters and sit there with people in the media, I will, he said. I will be there exposing everything they've done to me and my family and our employees. We are going to take legal action if we don't get our pages back. It's just going to turn into a sloppy mess for them. I think they've underestimated what they're dealing with. Attacking me, attacking conservatives in general, right before the elections. Never once did Facebook come to us, he said, and say that there was any issue with right-wing news or our other pages. Never. But they sure loved taking our money. Facebook completely ruined this triple amputee United States veterans online business, which was hugely successful because it was successful. The liberal media industrial complex hates the fact that people are able to use a laptop in their kitchen and reach more people than CNN and MSNBC or the New York Times and the Washington Post. And we need to remain vigilant and keep ringing the alarm bells because with the midterms less than 3 weeks away, there's no telling what they're going to try to pull next. If you guys enjoy these videos, go to markdice.com or click the link in the description below to support my channel and get yourself one of my awesome shirts, like the new liberal versus conservative shirt, or the classic liberalism find a cure shirt. All of them are available in t-shirt, long sleeve, and hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors. All sorts of cool stuff over there, so I appreciate your support, guys. And all you guys who tip me through Patreon and PayPal, everyone who supports the channel, I appreciate you guys always having my back. So, thanks again. Check back tomorrow for a new report, and I will hopefully see you soon.
Even in the wake of the most deadly attack against Jews in American history, the left still spent the weekend touting the same old tired line, comparing Trump to Adolf Hitler. Meanwhile, Louis Farrakhan still has a Twitter account where he calls Jews satanic termites, and the Women's March is still run by Palestinian terrorists and their sympathizers. Sorry, are we not allowed to talk about that? Hey guys, welcome back to Reality Check on MRCTV. I'm Brittany Hughes. Ever searching for a new low, the liberal media was out again over the weekend peddling their favorite line, comparing Trump to Hitler. Yep, how's this for some mental gymnastics? CNN's Caitlin Collins said that Trump calling himself a nationalist is pretty much exactly like Hitler.
Someone who believes in the United States and the importance of the United States.
I believe in the United States. I'm not a nationalist.
No,
Hitler was a nationalist.
When Trump suggested that armed guards keep people safe from terrorists, the Washington Post twisted his words and accused him of blaming the Jews for violence against their own community. You know, kinda like Hitler. Bloomberg's Tim O'Brien somehow managed to link Trump calling the fake news the enemy of the people with statements from, wait for it, Hitler. To remind, since history obviously isn't y'all's strong suit, Hitler was personally responsible for murdering upwards of 20 million people, including about 6 million Jews. Millions were rounded up from their homes, torn from their families, marched for miles and jammed into overcrowded cattle cars and shipped off to death camps. If they survived the journey and weren't fit to work, they were stripped naked, shaved, herded like sheep into giant bunkers, and systematically gassed to death. If they were fit, they were imprisoned and forced to work a minimum of 11 hours a day with little to no food or water until they starved, died of disease, collapsed from exhaustion, or guards simply had the bad case of the Mondays and beat them to death. Twins and the disabled were forced to undergo crazy scientific experiments, including randomly amputating their parts, deliberately infecting them with diseases, injecting their hearts with chloroform, and putting poison in their eyes. They were then dissected and studied. Are we done? Because we can keep going, and believe me, the stories get even worse. That was Hitler. That's the guy whose name you love to just toss around to describe someone you don't like, and those are the victims whose memory you disrespect every time. You say that deporting criminal aliens or promoting American economic interests are basically the same thing as the Holocaust. But hey, since you guys opened this can and dumped worms everywhere, here's another thing. Last time I checked, 48 hours after a crazy anti-Semite went and shot up a synagogue and killed 11 Jews because he was a crazy racist, far-left minister Louis Farrakhan still has an active Twitter account from which he calls Jews satanic, compares them to termites, and calls for them to be destroyed.
So when they talk about Farrakhan, call me a hater, you know what they do? Call me an anti-Semite. Stop it. I'm anti-termite.
He's even claimed that Hitler was a very great man who was just misunderstood. Of course, that didn't stop Barack Obama, Keith Ellison, and Maxine Waters from palling around with him, but hey, don't see the left losing a whole lot of sleep over that one. Here's another one. The Women's March expressed sympathy for those who lost their lives in Saturday's massacre, which is just a little ironic, considering that several of their top leaders are raging anti-Semites who have openly expressed support for Palestinian terrorism against Jews. One of them is even a convicted terrorist who spent 10 years in an Israeli prison for her part in 2 terrorist bombings in 1970, one of which killed 2 students while they were shopping for groceries. And these are the women who organize your marches and lead your chants and are held up as your heroes. But sure, Donald Trump is the real racist who's basically Hitler because he's a fan of border security or something. Okay. Do you think it helps to constantly compare a sitting U.S. president to one of the most racist mass murderers in human history? Is it toning down the rhetoric to constantly paint millions of American voters as Nazi sympathizers just because they didn't vote the way you wanted? The media blames Trump, the GOP, and the entire political right for stirring up violence, but they're the ones comparing a president to a murderous dictator while giving passes to left-wing anti-Semites. And what's even dumber than that, if possible, is that they don't think we'll notice. And that's your Reality Check, America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.
Deserts bare, man. I breathe the mountain air, man. I travel like a
All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here. It is great to be with you. Thank you, Mark Eisler, who's not only a wonderful broadcaster, he is a wonderful man. I know the man many years. He is a good soul. I was on my way to Colorado State University yesterday where I spoke to, are you ready? Approximately 1,200 people, most of them students. 1,200. They had to open up another wing. Wow is right. It's a wonderful thing. The night before in San Antonio, Texas, I spoke to 5,000 Christians at the Cornerstone Church. Not all Christians. There were some Jews there as well. But there is so much to tell you. My friends, we are living through one of the greatest lie periods of American media in the history of the American media. It is drenched in lie. It is saturated in lie. It is swimming in lie. It breathes lies. It exhales lie. That President Trump, in some way, led to the murders of the Pittsburgh Jews. As a Jew, as an American, as a human who loves truth, these people are despicable. Jew and non-Jew lying about this, using the deaths of Jews because they hate Trump. They hate Trump more than they love the dead. That is my belief. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't use the deaths of Jews to crap on the president. But that is their greatest motivating force of these people. The hatred of this man is obviously greater than any love of truth. The compromise of the press, of the Anti-Defamation League, of various Jewish agencies, of all of the left, the entire left, it's a lying place. I've said my whole life that truth is not a left-wing value. This precedes Donald Trump. This precedes this. It is merely the greatest manifestation of it. We are living through another left-wing lying hysteria. Pure, undiluted lie. The man hated Donald Trump, as it happens, because Donald Trump was surrounded by Jews, according to this man, and of course had Jewish relatives. His daughter, among others. This is the man who leads to anti-Semitism. It is. I always watch CNN because it's important to hear what the other side says. But it's now become emotionally impossible because it's just so filled with lies. MSNBC, I don't even bother with. I never watch MSNBC. MSNBC is a wasteland. MSNBC is on an intellectual level of a 3-year-old, and it appeals to people who like to hear hatred of conservatives. That's its raison d'etre, hatred of conservatives, and other news is not even reported. CNN is purportedly in the middle. And I will play for you. I could play for you CNN stuff all day. I could read to you from the New York Times. I mean, it is so endless. The country is being blanketed by lies. With the elections coming up, why not? Why not use 11 Jews' deaths to win an election? Why not? For the left, all is okay. All means are okay, because the end is left-wing power. Want power. The right wants smaller government. Get that? Get that? It's a very different end. The right wants to stop the left from ruining this society as it has every other it has touched. As it has ruined our universities, it has ruined our high schools, it has ruined our arts, it has ruined our religions, and has ruined Western Europe. So we don't want the left to be the poison in America. Not liberals, left, not liberals, left, not liberals, left. Okay? Am I okay for this hour in making it clear? You should have seen the 1,200 students last night at Colorado State. After all the hate and the demonstrators against me and all the hate, and I went through the first 20 minutes. I should play it. You know what? We need to, here's a shout-out to PragerU. It was videoed. I'll let you know when it was. You really need to show your young son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter, nephew, niece. You really need to show them my lectures at colleges. They're really, really, really important. I don't speak about. I lecture 150 times a year. I don't talk about almost any of them, but the ones at universities are really critical. I went through every attack on me and showed what lies they were, because the left doesn't give a damn about truth. Never did. Never, ever, ever, ever did. It is not. Its values are progressive. Its values are equality. I'm not saying they actually engage in it, but those are their values. If truth is compromised, if truth is undone, it's fine. Donald Trump led to the Pittsburgh murders. What a sickening use of dead Jews. What a sickening, sickening use. As a Jew and an American, I am disgusted by the left and by the media, the low-life media. They're conscienceless. They are conscience-free because they are so filled with self-righteousness in opposing Donald Trump that that's all they need to know in order to calm their conscience. So the question, am I saying what is true, doesn't occur to the left, doesn't occur to these people. All that matters is I am a good person if I undo the Trump presidency. That renders me good. I can lie and lie and lie and use dead Jews to lie to undo this presidency. Because undoing this presidency is the Jewish thing to do. It's the Christian thing to do. It's the American thing to do. And it's, of course, it's the progressive thing to do. That's how they justify their lying. They lied in the beginning of the Trump presidency when they said that the calls to Jewish community centers were induced by the Trump election. Turned out it was a deranged American Jewish kid in Israel who was making 90% of these bomb threat calls to Jewish community centers. The other 10% were made by a radical black trying to frame his ex-girlfriend. Did you know that? Did the mainstream media report that like they reported for months or a year? That the Trump election and the Trump campaign had induced this anti-Semitism? They don't care. They don't care. From the ADL to the ACLU, these people don't care. Truth versus getting rid of Trump? You got to be kidding. You have to be kidding. Kind of bourgeois middle class value system do you have that we should be committed to truth first? That's where we stand, my friends. The scummy left is doing its job. And it's really disgusting. Because to use dead Jews. I mean, this is unprecedented. Unprecedented. I sit and I am in awe of the left's ability to take murdered Jews in America, the first time it has ever happened, and to use it politically. It is mind-blowing. They are conscience-free because, as I said, all that they need to do to calm their conscience is to say to themselves, I am undoing the Trump presidency. That is a good that is greater than all the lies I can tweet. He calls himself a nationalist, the president, and so you will hear, I will play this for you later, on CNN, he calls himself a nationalist. That's a tweet to white nationalists. Really? David Brooks in the New York Times called himself a nationalist. Wow. Is that a tweet to white nationalism? You're not a nationalist? A Jew named David Hazony just wrote a brilliant book on nationalism. We have him doing a Prager University video you'll see shortly on nationalism. Nationalism can be good and can be bad, just like water. Water can be good, and you can drown in water. It can be bad. Everything can be good or bad. Religion can be good or bad. Humanism could be good or bad. Everything could be good or bad. Except the left, it can never be. It believes it can never be bad. That's one of the beauties of being on the left. We are pure because our intentions are to undo the right. And that is all we need to know. 1-8-PRAGER 776-877-243-7776. We are bathing in the biggest bath of lies I have ever experienced. All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here. By the way, you should check out my column. Today is Tuesday. It is about the Pittsburgh Massacre. I write it as an American and as a Jew. And among other things, call out the moral fraud, the lie about blaming President Trump for what happened in Pittsburgh. It is one of the most disgusting lies of my lifetime. The left has great competition on which is its greatest lies. America is a racist country is one of the great lies of the left. They lie constantly. You don't realize it because they all lie, and therefore you don't realize it's a lie because you have to hear somebody say it's a lie. If people say that green is yellow, then green is yellow. If all you hear that is green is yellow, most people will believe green is yellow. It is inevitable. That is the way it works. So if you only listen to the mainstream media, you will think green is yellow. The mayor of Pittsburgh won't meet because he's a Democrat, and that's what it's about. It's nothing to do with morality. None of the left stuff has to do with morality. If the left cared about morality, it would have been anti-communist. Greatest butcher of humanity in the history of the world. They were the left wasn't anti-communist. It was anti-communist. That's how I learned about the morality of the left. When I saw the way they treated other people when I was at Columbia, in the name of humanity, disgusting treatment of professors and other students and so on. I learned this very early in life. I was a liberal most of my life. I'm still a liberal in the classic sense, but it's irrelevant because the only liberals today are conservatives and Alan Dershowitz. And maybe Dave Rubin too. I wonder though. I think Dave Rubin is. They showed last night 1,200 people at Colorado State University. I'm broadcasting from Colorado right now, and they showed a PragerU video right before I spoke to the 1,200 mostly students, and there were adults there too. So I want to be very precise. And they showed them Why I Left the Left by Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin is a gay liberal. And he did a video for us. Yeah, we homophobes at Prager University have a gay guy. We have a few gay guys giving videos. Truth is truth, whatever the source. Straights can lie and gays can tell the truth. I mean, isn't that not obvious? I shouldn't even have to say it. The left can't tell the truth. As soon as you start telling the truth, you leave the left. I believe that with every fiber in my body. It is not possible to be committed to the truth and be a leftist, because you would be spending most of your time condemning your fellow leftists for lying. Donald Trump caused the Pittsburgh massacre. And it's just astonishing. Do you know that in The Atlantic is an article by a Jew, and I'm a Jew, just in case you didn't know, staff writer for The Atlantic, Franklin Foer, F-O-E-R. Any strategy for enhancing the security of American Jewry should involve shunning Trump's Jewish enablers. Their money should be refused, their presence in synagogues not welcome. They have placed their community in danger. Is this man sick? He is sick in his soul. He's a moron. He's a fool. I am a Jewish Trump enabler. 4. Do you not want me in your synagogue? You would not allow me to give money to build to build a Jewish nursing home? You disgusting thing, you. Oh my God. Jewish leftists, not Jewish liberals, are leftist before they're Jewish. This is another proof of it. They're on the left. The left is the greatest source of Israel hatred on earth, and they shut their mouths. They're worthless in the battle for Israel. Worthless. That's the big Jewish issue today. Look at that's amazing, isn't it? In The Atlantic, they published this crap that if a Jew supports Trump, a Jewish group should not take their money or allow them in the synagogue. It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Gets away with it because the Atlantic's a left-wing journal. Franklin Foer, F-O-E-R, moron of the day. Because I would say moron of the year, but he has still have competition tomorrow. I mean, I want you to think about it. Is there an equivalent? Is there a Catholic writing for a national journal saying that if you're a Catholic who supports the president, you shouldn't be allowed into a Catholic church? Your money should not be allowed to support a Catholic school? Is there a Catholic equivalent of the Jewish left? Is there a Protestant equivalent? I wonder. And I know Christianity really, really well. I know there's a Christian left. But I have not seen an equivalent to the despicable statement of this Franklin Foer, F-O-E-R, who is invited onto my show officially, and I will not call him any names when he comes on. I will politely clarify what he says. He won't come on. They don't come on, even though I do treat them nicely. But I don't blame him in this case. After what I just said about him, it's hard to blame him. But I would go on. I go on all the shows where they call me bad things because I'm so convinced that I could show people why that's not true. So Franklin Foer, if you want to explain why you are not a despicable person, please come on my show. Why this is about is it's close to anti-Semitism, what this guy wrote. We will not allow Jews into synagogues because of their views. It is so outside of the possibility of Judaism. I wonder, has he ever said that Jews who support the BDS movement cannot go to synagogue? Those who want to strangle Israel economically, are they allowed in a synagogue? Franklin 4? Maybe I'll write my next column on Franklin 4. I assure you the Atlantic won't publish it. It's mind-boggling, folks, the utter and total destruction of non-Orthodox Judaism. Almost total, not total. There are terrific non-Orthodox Jews. I'm not even Orthodox, and I'm saying this. But this is just another example. We shouldn't allow a Trump-supporting Jew into a synagogue or take his money to help charity. It's mind-blowing. Yeah, he's a nationalist, therefore it's a dog whistle to nationalism, to white nationalists. Be the first man in the history of the world that I know to support those who wish to exterminate Jews who has a Jewish child and Jewish grandchildren. You gotta believe this guy's really, really sick and bad, but they do believe that. I'm Dennis Prager. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. On DVD and Blu-ray today, Dinesh D'Souza's Death of a Nation. With only a few days left till the midterms, this film is crucial to see. Get your copy today at deathofanation.com. That's deathofanation.com. Dennis Prager here. And I am just I live in this very I'm so open with you, so I'll tell you this. I live in this dichotomy of such a blessed life and feeling that I'm doing something good with it, and traveling around speaking to wonderful and very large audiences of very different backgrounds. 5,000 Christians in Texas on Sunday night, 1,200 mostly students at Colorado State University yesterday. So I feel good about this and about my family and about my health, with all the normal issues that humans have, but my beloved country, it affects me. I have to admit it. It does. To be so drenched in lies, pernicious lies, to see the only massacre of Jews in American history used by the left purely for leftist ends. This is one of the most sickening displays of leftist vileness in American history. What you are seeing now on CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, The Atlantic, the Jewish left. It is unprecedented. Well, I can't say that because they lie so much. So I don't know if it's unprecedented, but it's quite remarkable. Everything for the left, anything that happens, the only question is, how can we smear the right? That is the how do we get more power from this event? The event is less significant than in this case, in our time, getting rid of this president. It is more important to get rid of Trump than to mourn Jewish dead. That's astonishing, including for the Jewish left. Well, the Jewish left, by and large, doesn't even care about Israel's health, so why should it care about the 11 dead? In comparison to getting rid of Trump. Yeah, they care about the Jewish dead. But more important is getting rid of Trump. So they will use the Jewish dead to get rid of Trump. Says he's a nationalist. He winked to Nazis. By the way, for the record, in Charlottesville, okay, for the record, because it's the only data that they have to make this clear. We said there are good people on both sides. If you take the context of the issue, it was not that there were good Nazis. He never said it. He doesn't believe it. He was talking about there were good people, and I could prove that he didn't mean they were good Nazis. I'll prove it to you in a moment. What he was saying is, with regard largely to the issue of the statues, there were good people who want them down. He was actually trying to make peace in the country by not having people hate each other. That's the irony. Not that there were good Nazis, and the proof is he wouldn't believe there were good Antifa people. If he said there were good people on both sides, that means he believes there were good Antifa. Does he really believe that? Does the left believe he thinks there were good Antifa people? The left-wing version of fascism? Does he believe that? Of course he doesn't. He didn't believe it with regard to Nazis, and he didn't believe it with regard to Antifa, because that's not what he was thinking about. But they repeated over and over and over and over, Charlottesville, 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 Charlottesville. Trump thinks they were good Nazis. Anyway, read my column today, please. Explains my way of explaining. By the way, I have a book out, which is in its third or fourth edition. If you're curious, because there are calls Why the Jews Hated, and that's what my book is about. Why the Jews, it's titled. And it's also got a serious chapter on why America, because America hatred and Jew hatred are related. But nevertheless, this gives you a background. Why the Jews are hated. And by the way, all Jewish hatred, there's a uniqueness. There's been hatred of every group on earth. Blacks have been hated, and Slavs have been hated, and Christians have been hated, and Muslims have been hated, and Buddhists have been hated, and you name it. Whites have been hated. But there is one difference. Jew haters want the Jews exterminated. That's the difference. That's why the guy screamed, all Jews must die. That's the difference. When any other group is killed, even if they're for being members of the group, the person isn't shouting, all of them must die. Jewish babies are as hated by anti-Semites as Jewish adults. It's a unique hatred. It's a completely unique hatred. It's the longest ongoing, most devastating. I cry for America as much as I cry for Jews that this stain has occurred here. America's joined the list. My beloved America. It's not America's fault, but it has. A place where Jews are massacred. Back in a moment. Hi, everybody. Well, it's funny. I told you that the cruise would sell out, and it has sold out. I never bluff you. You don't know how much ad copy I change because I think that the advertiser might be exaggerating, which is totally normal and even assumed by Americans it'll happen. The special thing about that is it's all kindred spirits. It's an amazing thing to be on a boat. Wherever you sit for lunch or dinner or breakfast, you know somebody who shares your values. You don't have to be a Marrano. You don't have to hide who you are. I have really vented this hour my anger at the Jewish left, the non-Jewish left, for using the 11 murdered Jews as a way to get at Trump. You're disgusting, every one of you who did it. You're disgusting. It's as simple as that. Being disgusting is part and parcel of being on the left, not being a liberal. Liberals have been beautiful people, misguided but beautiful. There are some disgusting conservatives, but it doesn't come with the territory. Leftism makes you disgusting. That's the point. Conservative doesn't make you disgusting. There are disgusting conservatives, but not because of conservatism. You are listening to The Dennis Prager Show.
The Dennis Prager Show, live from the Relief Factor Pain-Free Studio.